Have you ever felt that something within you doesn't quite fit into this world? As if your soul knows a truth that your mind cannot yet name? As if, at certain times of the day, especially when the sun begins to set, a strange sensation overcomes you. A mix of alertness and peace, as if something invisible were moving around you. It's not madness, it's not anxiety, it's not a coincidence, it's a sign. And what is happening now in the spiritual realm explains exactly why you feel this, and why this sensation has intensified precisely at this hour, at 6 p.m., the exact moment when the portals between the visible and the invisible become thinner than at any other time of day. There is a deliverance that has already been signed for you, not just any deliverance. A deliverance decreed, sealed, registered in the heavens with your name. And the most shocking part, it has a set time. There is a game being played in layers that most of humanity cannot perceive. A game where forces work tirelessly to ensure you never discover that this celestial document exists, because the moment you become aware of it, the adversary loses the power to keep you trapped in what they were already planning against your life. Think carefully. How many times have you narrowly escaped something? How many times did an accident almost happen but didn't? How many times did bad news arrive at your door, knock, but not enter? You called it luck. You called it a coincidence. But what if I told you that each of these moments was the visible manifestation of a deliverance that was already signed in the invisible realm? And what if the strangeness you feel, this silent certainty that there's a hand protecting you, was precisely the proof that you are not an observer of this story, but its central piece? God's chosen ones carry a mark that the spiritual world immediately recognizes, and it is precisely because they carry this mark that they become targets. Think about this carefully. No one attacks an empty house. No one invests against someone who poses no threat. If your life has been a battlefield, if it seems that problems multiply, that doors close, that people turn against you for no apparent reason, this is not a sign that God has abandoned you. It is precisely the opposite. It is a sign that something great is reserved for you, and that the enemy knows this even before you do. The 6 p.m. deliverance is not a metaphor. It is a spiritual principle. In the scriptures, the 9th hour, the twilight, has always been a moment of transition, of prayer, of divine decision. It was at the end of the afternoon that sacrifices were presented, that prayers ascended like incense, that decrees from heaven descended upon the earth. And you, chosen one, were designated to awaken precisely at this hour to receive what has already been signed in your name. But there is a condition, and this is where most lose the battle without even realizing they were fighting. The condition is knowledge. The deliverance is signed, but it needs to be claimed. Imagine there's a gigantic inheritance deposited in your name, but you never went to the bank to claim it because no one told you it existed. The money is there. The document is signed. But as long as you don't take possession, you live like a pauper while having riches stored away. This is exactly how millions of chosen ones live, defeated, oppressed, anxious, sleeping poorly, living in fear, while the deliverance has already been signed and is merely waiting for your consciousness to awaken to claim it. That is why I wrote this digital book, the handbook for God's chosen ones to protect the family. This book is not just reading material. It is the document that teaches you how to claim the deliverance that has already been signed for you and yours. It is a map that shows who is playing against your protection, what the spiritual rules are that you were never told about how to shield your home, and what has already been revealed about the exact moments, like this one at 6 p.m., when heaven bends to act in your favor. This book was created for those who have awakened enough to know that the protection of their life and family is not luck, but a spiritual position that needs to be occupied with authority. The link is in the first comment pinned at the top. But I need to warn you, this kind of content rarely remains available for long. What is in these pages challenges narratives that many are interested in keeping intact. The idea that you are a helpless victim of chance, that attacks against your family are just life being difficult. There have been attempts to silence this knowledge before, because a chosen one who learns to claim their deliverances becomes untouchable. Don't wait for the right moment. The right moment is now, chosen ones, because you didn't reach this video by accident. Download now and comment. I am chosen, and I will download the digital book. Now that you have decided to act, the next truth will show you how this sign deliverance activates in practice, and why the 6 p.m. hour is the trigger that many chosen ones ignore purely out of ignorance. There is a pattern in the invisible world that few perceive. The forces that work against the chosen ones operate in cycles, and they know the times. It is no coincidence that so many people report feeling a strange heaviness, a melancholy, an inexplicable irritation precisely when the day begins to die. Twilight has always been a moment of contention. It is when light gives way to darkness, and in this interval, in this crevice between day and night, decrees are launched. The adversary tries to launch theirs: fear, sickness, discord, scarcity. But heaven also launches its own: deliverance, healing, restoration, peace. And the question that decides everything is simple: which decree will you recognize and receive? Most people, unaware of this dynamic, passively receive whatever comes. They arrive home from work exhausted, turn on the television, absorb news of tragedy, argue with family over trifles, and go to sleep with a heavy heart. And without realizing it, they open the door to the wrong decree. But the chosen one who awakens does the opposite. They understand that at 6 p.m. there is a window, and in that window they position themselves. They claim deliverance. They declare protection over their home, over their children, over their spouse, over their finances. And what seemed like a time of vulnerability transforms into the most powerful hour of their day. Have you ever noticed how certain families seem to always escape the tragedies that strike others, as if there were an invisible fence around them? This is not a birthright privilege. It's not a matter of being luckier or wealthier. It's a matter of someone in that family having learned, consciously or unconsciously, to occupy the spiritual position of protection. And what these people do by intuition, the awakened chosen one can do by knowledge, by strategy, by authority deliberately claimed every day, especially at that decisive hour of twilight. And here is something that will deeply shock you. The sign deliverance doesn't just cover you. It extends over your entire lineage, over all those who are under your spiritual covering. When you awaken, you don't just save yourself, you become the gateway of protection for your entire family. That's why the attack against you is so intense. The adversary isn't just trying to bring you down. They are trying to prevent you from rising as the spiritual protector of your home, because they know that an awakened chosen one means an entire family shielded. It means children protected, marriage restored, finances secured, health preserved. It is precisely this map of family protection that I detailed in the digital book, The Handbook for God's Chosen Ones to Protect the Family. Because it's not enough to know that deliverance exists, you need to know how to extend it over every person you love. The book shows step by step how to occupy the position of spiritual covering for your home, what the entry points the adversary uses to attack a family are, and how to seal them definitively. It reveals the rules you were never told about why some homes live in constant warfare, while others live in peace, and how to migrate from the first condition to the second. The link remains there, pinned at the top of the comments. And I repeat the warning because it is serious. This knowledge is unsettling. It challenges the narrative that you need to live hoping nothing bad happens, hostage to anxiety, dependent on luck. Attempts have already been made to silence content like this, because a people who learn to protect themselves spiritually cease to be manipulated by fear. Therefore, do not delay. Download now and register your act of faith in the comments. I am chosen, and I will download the digital book. This comment is not just a word, it is a declaration that echoes in the invisible, marking your position. Now that you have affirmed this commitment, I need to reveal to you the deepest part of this truth, the real reason why your deliverance was signed with a specific hour, and what this awakens within you when you finally understand. Everything in creation obeys times and seasons. There is a time to be born and a time to die, a time to plant and a time to harvest. And over your life there are times of deliverance that were marked even before you were born. The 6 p.m. hour that has been calling your attention, this unease, this intuition, this awakening that happens when the day ends, is the sign that your time to claim has arrived. It's not that deliverance begins to exist at 6 p.m. It already exists. But it is at this hour that your spiritual sensitivity opens enough to perceive it, to touch it, to take it. Think of how many times you've looked at the clock and seen exactly this hour, or repeated numbers or sequences that seem to call out to you. You thought it was a coincidence, but the invisible communicates through patterns, and when a chosen one begins to perceive these patterns, it's because the blindfold is falling. It's because consciousness is awakening to the reality that has always been there, hidden in plain sight. And once you see, you can no longer unsee. The world never seems the same again. Problems no longer appear random. Protections no longer seem like luck. Everything becomes part of a larger picture, of a war that has you as its central piece and its contested prize. The adversary fears the awakened chosen one more than anything else. Because the dormant chosen one is harmless, they suffer, complain, victimize themselves, but claim nothing. The awakened chosen one, however, rises with authority, recognizes the times, occupies the spiritual windows, and transforms their own home into shielded territory. They cease to be prey and become a fortress. And this transition from prey to fortress is exactly what separates those who live oppressed from those who live in continuous deliverance. That's why I insist so much on this digital book. The Handbook for God's Chosen Ones to Protect the Family is the complete path for this transition. It doesn't just leave you knowing that there is a deliverance and a powerful hour. It gives you the entire method to activate this in practice every day, so that protection ceases to be an isolated event and becomes the permanent state of your life and your family. It is the document that gathers everything that was hidden about how a chosen one should position themselves at the right times to receive everything that has already been signed in their name. The link is pinned at the top of the comments. This is the last warning I give you in this video. Such content disappears, not because I want to create pressure, but because it is the reality. This knowledge challenges interests, and the window to access it will not always be open. You have reached this point to the end of this revelation, and this is not by chance. It was your deliverance pulling you, calling you, confirming that you are indeed a chosen one. Download now and seal this moment with your comment. I am chosen and I will download the digital book. Because at 6:00 p.m. today, when the sun begins to set and that familiar sensation returns, you will no longer feel fear. You will feel power. You will look at the clock, take a deep breath, and loudly claim everything that has already been signed for you in the heavens. And for the first time in your life, you will not be asking, you will be taking possession, because the deliverance already bears your name. It already has its hour. And now, finally, it has your awakened consciousness to receive it. The game changed the instant you understood who you truly are. And there is no force in the invisible realm capable of reversing what heaven has already signed in favor of an awakened chosen one.